Hey guys, Matt from Back Yourself Fitness here, and welcome to the first installment of a new video series we're launching. This is the Triathlon Prep Series. So what is the Triathlon Prep Series? So I am participating in a sprint triathlon, which is a half distance triathlon. First one I've ever done by myself. I'll give you a little bit of backstory on that in a second, but I'm using this series for a couple of reasons. Accountability for myself, sharing my training with anyone who's interested or is stuck for training ideas, the hows and whys of nutrition and rest and recovery and then training around that. But yeah, it's more so just so I can share the preparation that I'm actually putting into this. I'm gonna do videos like day of the race, day before the race, day after the race, and then we're going to do like a weekly check-in just so you can see where we're at with the prep. Now, I'm already into week 5 of my training, so I'll give you the backstory on how I got to here. I participated in the Mooloolaba Tri in March as a team. Our rider pulled out, so I ended up doing the ride and the run leg, and that's totally fine. It sucked, it was painful, and I was training into it, but I was not prepared for what was dished up. Annoyingly, the run was the worst run I've probably ever done, and that's hard to swallow because I find running relatively easy. So it lit a fire underneath me to do better, and the plan was always going to be, let's try and work towards doing ones by yourself. So the next step was going to be what I've done now and sign up for a sprint triathlon, which is a half distance. So 750 meter swim, 20K bike ride, 5K run. Now, mentally going, well, I rode 40Ks and then ran 10Ks. So the half those distances don't really, shall we say, scare me so much. It's the throwing the swim on top of that, and then adding it all together and trying to push for a pretty decent time. So pretty much the week after the try at Mooloolaba, body pulled up pretty good, which is good. I went, right, I'm going to register for the next try. And the next try was only 2 or 3 weeks away, which wasn't enough time. So Byron Bay sprint, it was 8 weeks away from where I was. So it gave me enough time to sit and program 4 weeks of training, think about my food, think about my rest, including bits and pieces that are actually triathlon specific into my training. Now, some people may watch this or listen to this and go, well, that's wrong, or that's okay, I'm not sure about that. What I've done is I've done my own little bit of research. I've asked people who do triathlons, what their training looks like, and kind of taken bits and pieces and turned it into my own little thing. Now, this first video, I want to take you through where I am and where I'm up to. Not full breakdown, but this first video is like, okay, here are the first 4 weeks, the first month of training for the triathlon. And then I'm in week 5 at the moment. Now things are starting to pick up. So the next video you see will be much more training and nutrition specific. So the program itself, I'm aiming to train twice a day. Now it sounds like a lot, but when I say training, one of those sessions could be a stretch session or a mobility session or an activation session. So it's not like I'm riding twice a day or riding and swimming or deadlifts and shoulder press, in the same day. There is breaks put in there and sessions put in there that are strict mobility, just to let the body recover. There's also rest sessions. So for the first 4 Sundays, so for the first 4 weeks, there was only one workout on a Sunday, as in like one of the Sundays had a workout on it. The rest were classified as rest. During the week, there could be 2 or 3 mobility sessions thrown in there as actual workouts on top of usual warm-ups and cool-downs and stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to step you through the first 4 weeks of my training. Week 1, post Mooloolaba, the body was shagged. Wasn't sore anywhere, but was more so lethargic and just zapped. Man, the heat at that was like, the only way I could have trained harder Well, one of the ways I could have trained harder for Mooloolaba was like if I trained in the middle of the day, because that's something I didn't do. And we were running at 11:30 and it was awful. So week 1 of the new program, so 8 weeks, was low impact. I'm talking more stretch sessions, range of movement sessions, minimal triathlon training. So I think I did a 5K run or 5K jog, and then there was a 1,000-meter swim in there, and that was the hardest workout of week 1. A lot of breaks, a lot of rest, all that kind of stuff. Week 2, I increased all the cardio elements, so I tried to tick off a swim, well, at least 2 of the events or 2 of the legs in a week. So week 2 had a swim and a bike and a short run. So nowhere near the distances that I'd be looking at for the bike or the run, but just kind of increasing that load and increasing that capacity. And I'm still trying to do general strength stuff around that, but it's not going to be 1RMs or PBs. It's more so good quality movements, hypertrophy. Let's try and build those muscles that I'm going to need in the race. When we moved into week 3 and week 4, I increased the distances or intensity of the triathlon legs and the frequency of that. So for example, in week 4, there was 4 or 5 sessions during the week that were triathlon specific. So that means, I believe there was 2 swims, a run, and 2 rides in there. So really trying to increase that load on the body. And these distances could be different, or they could chop and change. So week 3, there was an 8K run. The distance I'm only running is 5 in the tri. Week 4, my run workout was 2 3K runs. So I'm never actually doing sprints, but I am looking at shorter distances repetitively, but it's still very endurance training, if that makes sense. As we move into week 5, as I'm recording this, I'm looking more at pushing myself in the pool, because the pool is my weakest leg, or the swim is my weakest leg. Getting into the open water and having swims. The bike is what it is. I'm pretty comfortable on the bike. It's just a matter of increasing my time or bettering my time on that. And then the run, it can vary from that multiple shorter Ks or a longer K, or push for like a 5K for time kind of thing. From memory, in my program, the longest run I do is 10, and that's not really required, but it's just a change up for the body. The shortest distance I run is 2Ks, but that's multiples of 2Ks. So that's where I'm at with my training at the moment. We've got to a point where we're increasing the intensity and the load on the triathlon training. We're still doing our hypertrophy training, and I'm making sure my mobility is the best it can be. I'm probably still going to have to get a massage or 2 before the actual triathlon, just because of the load on my body. Week 6 and 7 is where it gets real, and we peak with our load. And then week 8, back end of week 7 and week 8, we taper right off, because week 8 will be the week of the triathlon. Now, as I said at the start, we're going to look at nutrition, programming, where I'm at, how I feel, my goals, the day of, day before, and day after the actual race itself. But for now, this is the end of episode 1. If you have any questions about my specific programming or ideas on how you should be programming, or you want to program for a triathlon or something like that, get in touch, leave a comment in the section below. Let's see what happens. I'll see you next week, and it'll be the end of week 5 for the preparation for the tri.